Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to implement Cayrex's zinc fuel cell. So this will be the main tub where the electrolyte and the slurry will go into the top of the existing round cell I used to have and run. That cleaned up alright. I just needed to soak it for a couple of days. The separator in there is from the original cell test. That's a piece of tracing paper. It's black, it's wet, that's why I kept it going. I've just wrapped paper towel up through the center of the hole at the bottom to insulate it from the zinc, any zinc slurry that will come around the outsides once I pour it down the center. The negative electrode is going to be the graphite rod from a zinc battery. And the slurry, there's 50 grams of zinc powder. This stuff here. And 6 mole potassium hydroxide with sodium polyacrylate as the gel solution, gelling. It's sort of, it'll be jelly enough. It's sticks pretty well. It should still gravity feed. You'd need to really pump it. I don't have a pump at hand. I was just doing just a quick test to see if that will actually work. I was going to throw that out like 3 times, that cell. It's been sitting out the back for ages now. And now I know why I was hanging on to it, because it may be a good candidate, being a round cylinder. So I'll set that up, hook up the data logger and see what happens. Should be interesting. Okay, I've just put in the negative electrode. It's sort of center. I have the slurry in the center and I put some of the electrolyte, potassium hydroxide, a few drops around the outside of the carbon tube. Okay, so we have the data logger connected. We're at 1.1 volts. I'm going to have the cutoff volt at 0.2 because the cell's only just fresh. And we're going to try 50 milliamp run. Okay, doing 50 milliamps, but dropped past our cutoff threshold pretty quickly. I'll just shake it around a bit. And try again. We could just get rid of the 0.2 volts. Oops, wrong one, 50. What am I doing? It's not clicking down. Alright, we'll change that to 30, see what happens. Start it now. Okay, holds 30 okay pretty well. It probably could do with more zinc maybe. It's a pretty big tub. It's only like 50 grams in there. Sprinkle some more electrolyte around the outside, see what happens. Right, just added some electrolyte. We will get rid of the cutoff voltage. And put it to 0.01. Right, here we go. I'll just wobble the negative electrode around. We're only doing 20 milliamps. 17 milliamps dropping. Could be shorting out down the bottom or through the cell. Seems to be holding 16 milliamps at 0.179. I was just wobbling the electrode around, -1. Oops, it didn't like that, did it? Alright, we'll let that run for a while and see what happens. Okay, cell's been running for an hour and a half, and now it's at 1.4 volts, 30 milliamps. That's with the zinc. I think over here, 37 minutes, I changed it to the zinc electrode, which is only about 10 millimeters wide, and as long as that plate there, that's straight out of a zinc D battery. So it might be functioning now. It needed some time, I guess, for the electrolyte to go through that and get rid of the water, which was because I soaked that carbon ring. We could probably stoke up the amperage. Let's see. Alright, the fan will sit there. We'll keep it running. I'll just alter that to 50 and adjust. Nope. Having a hissy fit. Oh. Actually, I don't think I changed it, did I? Try now. There we go. Okay, dropped down by 0.1 of a volt to 50 milliamps. Wow. Nice. Alright, I'll keep that running for a while, see what's happening. But that's the last tube I have. I was thinking I might fabricate some ends, a plastic end what sits on the bottom with a little tube out the bottom, and that way it can flow through better. It actually might even work better once that carbon starts drying out, so air can get through it easier. There's a bit of spillage at the bottom, but nothing too bad. Okay, for its first run, it's still running. It's only doing 22 milliamps, so it's been 10 hours and 53 minutes, or 54 just then. It's 403 milliwatt hours, 477 milliamp hours. So I'd imagine it's depleted now. It's sort of swelling up a bit in there. It's like made a bubble, if you can see that. That's the remaining slurry. So we've got to drain that out now and wash it and see if that works again and see what type we get. So not bad results actually, considering when I had this cell running and it had the electrolyte right around it and submersed. It was only 3-hour run time at 100 milliamps. So definitely zinc air does, it's like unusual, it looks different. And and I don't know why the new phone is making the screen all blue looking. What it is. Oh, something. Yeah, wish it didn't make it all blue. It's hard to see that now, isn't it? Alright, so I'll shut it down. Let's see if it has any bouncing back. It somewhat bounces back. I'll see what it is in the morning and then I'll drain it and wash it. I'll be back. Washing and filtering the zinc. Okay, just finished washing the zinc. It's been 5 days since I ran the cell. That's been sitting in there for 5 days. It's turned into actually like a slime. It sort of separates a bit. As you can see, it's really liquidy on the top. So that's after 5 days, but that polymer is sort of really sliming up now. So that's the fresh batch. It sort of bubbles, so the zinc could be actually degrading in the potassium hydroxide and the kitty litter stuff. I mean, not kitty litter, it's sodium polyacrylate, nappies. So this was washed out with fresh water first, and then a cup of vinegar was put through it and stirred, and then filtered, and then washed again. So that's what was out of the center of that cell. So I'll probably have to put some more nappy stuff in there. Sodium polyacrylate. And I'm going to mix it back into there. Probably have to put electrolyte as well, we will. And see how we go with rerunning this stuff, which was already depleted. Alright, I've just added the washed zinc gel to the center of the core. We're using the same electrode, which is a piece of zinc plate, which is that long by about as thick as that ice cream stick. So I've just stuck it in there, and the voltage is 1.2. I think it's stable at that now. The alkalinity from the originally made gel to the washed, that's the washed one, that's the original gel. They're pretty much the same. I think it's around about 12. I've used the same electrolyte out of this tub for both of them. I might give it a half hour just to soak in. So it's sitting at 1.2 volts now. So around about a half hourish, I'll get back and we can test the used zinc compared to the last run. It was about 10 hours, but it took about an hour and a half to soak through the electrolyte. I mean the tracing paper. It did sort of dry out after the cell discharged for 10 hours, and it was stuck to the separator, so the whole thing, the separator and the zinc came out the cell. I just unfolded it and scraped it off in some water. So you could make a cartridge type. The separator is the cartridge. It looks like it could be leaking, and don't know if there's too much separator around the top section there. So it could be self-discharging there. Voltage is dropping, so it might be. I'll just add some electrolyte, just a smidgen. Because it's been 5 days and that carbon rod's been out in the air there for 5 days. Oh, I didn't like that electrolyte then. When I squirted that in, it dropped, but it's increasing now. Alright, so I'll just monitor that for about half hour or more. That will keep the time. Okay, cell's been soaking for 46 minutes. I just added some electrolyte and made it go up from 0.8 to 1.2. So we'll do a run. I'm not sure if it's going to run the 50 milliamps straight away. Drop down. We have our cutoff voltage at 0.1. So I'll sit it there. We're only doing like 20 milliamps. But it did that last time. Oh, we're doing not even registering the milliamps. Could be something to do with the separator. I'll put it to 10 milliamps for an hour before I have to go out. Yeah, it's doing less than 10 milliamps. I'll just wobble the lead. May need to soak for a bit longer. I'll keep it discharging. So it's still not disproven yet. We could have stuffed up somewhere. What I might do, it's doing 10 milliamps now, easy. I've found this calcium chloride water absorbing pack. I think the membrane's on the back here, which allows water and air to go in to be psyched up with the calcium chloride in gel. So I might use this as a separator on the next video. So I'll let this run. So I'm going to leave it running, and it may bounce back up like it did last time. It was started off pretty poorly, but then ran for 10 hours. So we'll see what happens. If it fails, it's not because of the design or anything. I think it's just because the separator's too old and it's a piece of tracing paper dried out again for another week, well, 5 days. So when I use that thing as a separator, I'll put the new gel back in and then repeat the process again. So I'll get back later. Okay, it's the next day. I failed to clean and have the cell run properly yesterday. It wouldn't actually produce, like, I think 20 milliamps was the most, and then it just dropped right down, and it wasn't even readable on the scale since it only does 10 milliamps. So what I've decided to do is redo the experiment. So I've got the same gel, zinc gel slurry. It's 6 days since I created that. It's got a lot waterier, more liquefied. For the separator, I'm just using a bit of A4 photocopy paper. So what I've done here, because it will drain right out, I rolled the cylinder up and folded the end over to hold the slurry in position. So, and another reason I did this was because trying to change the get the slurry out of there with the separator all intact was a bit hard the other day. Sort of dries out. So this way I can replace the separator with the exact same one, and we don't have to wait a couple of days like the tracing paper for it to absorb through it. So this should give us a better understanding what we can do with the leftover zinc and how can we wash it. So I'm going to speed things along. I just stuck that negative electrode in. So we're holding 1.4 volts. I'm going to try 100 milliamp load and discharge it today, and maybe start cleaning it and stuff tomorrow. Okay, so we dropped down to 0.9 volts, but we still need to soak through that paper maybe. I'll let it run there and see what we get. Might have to back the milliamps off. I'll give it a wobble. No, what about a little bit of electrolyte? I'll put some of the electrolyte around it. Alright, adding some electrolyte around the carbon. Maybe it's not wet enough. Alright, so a couple of drops, so I put some electrolyte around the inside of the carbon tube and the photocopy paper. So hopefully that will wet it. Because the gel probably doesn't wet that quick, since it's all holding into the, what was it? Sodium polyacrylate. So that increased the voltage, so we'll sit there and see what happens. No, I just went and washed my hands, come back and the voltage just dropped. And what's going on? Alright, so that's worse than the other day, for some reason. I'll swap out electrodes and probably put in the carbon pad maybe. Okay, an hour and 53 minutes running the 6-day-old zinc slurry, so it never really improved. It did do 50 milliamps for 11 minutes over here. But other than that, it's doing about 8 milliamps. It's got 36 milliamp hours and 8 milliwatt hours. 1 hour and 53 minutes. So I'm gonna, I've mixed up a fresh batch of zinc slurry, where I've just added the zinc to the sodium polyacrylate and potassium hydroxide mix. And I'll swap out the cartridge and put a new one in and get back and see if the freshly made slurry works like it did the first time in this video. Okay, the refilled fresh soil from the fresh batch. It's been sitting in there for 8 minutes and 53 minutes. It's currently at 1.1 volts, no load, it's just monitoring it. So starting test, 50 milliamps. Drops down pretty quickly. Doing about the same. So be fair, the original test was on 30 milliamps. And that really didn't change much. Could be the paper. Seems to not be. I'll add some electrolyte just to wet that paper. Not adding much. Didn't get no increase yet. I'll leave it running for a while and see what happens. Okay, I tried to get this cell running numerous times. I tried everything. I tried changing the gel from the original gel, which lasted when I originally put it in there for like 10 hours. And I made a new one, didn't have any effect. It sort of just ran for a second. Tried different separators. I tried no separator, still couldn't get the gel to function. This time I charged the gel up for an hour at 2 volts and it's been running for about 2 minutes. It's holding 1.7. So there you go, a charge maybe fixed it. Maybe a charge dried the gel out a bit. Made it a bit more rigid and more contact. So that was a batch I made up yesterday and it did nothing. I even swapped out the electrode, put a new piece in. It ran for about 5 minutes and then died off. So I'll see how long this will run on an hour's charge. So it worked really good first time I tried the cell, and then it just didn't function after that. This is the best I've had it so far, and this has had an hour's charge at 2 volts. Okay, 42 minutes in, it's still at 1.3. Still a zinc air battery, but charged up. The separator's just some A4 paper, copy paper. Okay, got home, it's just been doing 20 milliamps for, well, it did 1 hour and 58 minutes. So it's not that bad. I'll add some electrolyte. It's now nearly 11 o'clock, 10 to 11. Just adding some electrolyte to see if anything happens. And nothing much is going on. So yeah, it's a hard cell to get to work. So I think I'll post the video, see what you think. I'll try charging it up a few more times, and if it's still working I'll post another video on it. So thanks for watching. Alright, back 4 days later after the last charge. I charged it up for an hour and a half this time. So it still charges, but it sort of dries out. So it's been 4 days and it's around about 30 degrees for these 4 days, so the outer carbon should be pretty dry. It's the same zinc slurry. But the other time it only lasted 2 hours, so... Okay, the cell's starting to look very good. It's been running for 2 hours. It's at 102 milliamp hours and 149 milliwatt hours. Voltage is still 1.2. So what I suspect is the outer shell, which is carbon ring, if you wet that too much, it's only guessing, that the oxygen doesn't get through there very well. So I only put a bit of electrolyte down the top there because it was pretty dry for 3 days in 30 degrees plus, more like 35 degrees C. And as you can see, there's no liquid at the bottom now, so it did sort of evaporate pretty well. So keep it running, see what happens, and I'll post a video, what I had the other day, 4 days ago. I was going to post it, but I don't get time much, work issues and stuff. And then I'll keep this running and charge it up daily and see what we get. See if it actually has a few cycles in it. So this is like the second cycle. One of the issues probably is going to keep it sort of at the right moisture level. Alright, cell's still running. It's at 0.6 volts. 8 hours and 13 minutes, so a total of 400. Let me drop the phone. 414 milliamp hours and 455 milliwatt hours on a 1.5 hour charge. So actually that's working better than when the cell was a submerged cell. So it's definitely oxygen and zinc cell. So I'm going to turn it off now because it's 10:30. I'm going to get up early in the morning. No point letting that run down to 0.5. Probably where it's sitting there. Probably run for another hour or more. So we'll just check the recovery. Alright, I'm going to post this tomorrow when I get some spare time. And probably charge it up again. And I'll keep charging, keep you updated, see how it goes.